How has this show existed for nearly 3 years, and I am just discovering this now? I just heard about it like 2 days ago, and now I've watched the whole thing. And of course I'm talking about exactly what the title says, the most underrated mini show or TV show or whatever that I think I have ever seen. Of course, it is called Mare of Easttown. This is an HBO miniseries that was produced by Karen Wacker, and it stars Kate Winslet, who plays Mare, this detective that works in Easttown, this small little town in Pennsylvania, and she is at the head investigating this mysterious murder that occurred in this town. That's the basic setup, and this show is very, very simple in its setup, in its premise. It's nothing that you haven't seen in other shows before, in other murder mystery shows, in random episodes of Criminal Minds, right? It is the basic setup, but there are things that make this show so much better than many of the other shows like it out there. There are many great things about the show that make it almost the best spiritual successor to season 1 of True Detective we've ever gotten. This is, to me, a season of True Detective in spirit, and the best that we've gotten outside of that first season. Now, why? Well, let me talk about the actual story first. Easttown, the location this show takes place in, is a town that is thoroughly built and a setting that feels very much alive. All the people in this town feel like they know each other and have a personal connection to each other, and the way they do this is by setting up little side stories throughout the show. Like Mare, she's working as a detective, has to deal with this brother and sister. The brother who is a drug addict and the sister who wants to take care of him but is just at her wit's end. There's little things like that that don't really come into play largely in the bigger story the show's trying to present, but through doing things like that, the town feels so alive in a way that I can only really compare to something like Stranger Things, where they really make this town feel lived in, and they make the events feel extremely important and necessary as the show goes on. Something else that works is the mystery itself and how it slowly, presents the reveals and teases what's going to happen. The mystery here, yet again, is very simple. There's a young girl played by Cailee Spaeny who ends up dying under very mysterious circumstances, and there's also, this is at a time in this town where there are other mysterious things happening. There are other girls that have disappeared, so they have to kind of connect the dots. Is there a serial killer? Is this a solo event? What is going on? And Mare has to investigate it. Mare, who is also this very complicated person. She is a mother and also a grandmother. She has a daughter who's played by Sigourney Rice. I'll get into her character in a little bit more. And she had a son that had committed suicide before the show had started, and now she is taking care of her grandson, who is a young boy, and she's also in like a custody battle with the boy's mom. It's like a whole thing. And Mare is this human being who is very good at her job, and she wants to help the town, but she's just kind of a dick, and people just don't really like her all that much. Some people love her, but most people are like, Mare, you're just a dick. And partially that's because she has not dealt with the grief over her son yet. So as she's investigating this case, you really get to know her, you get to know the town, you get to know her family, you get to know the characters around her, and they all sort of surround this mystery in a way that makes it feel more personal, and it makes it feel like it hits at home. And as you slowly start to learn more about it, it becomes more interesting, the town becomes bigger, and the show just feels so good. And the reason is because Kate Winslet is a star in this. I've seen a lot of Kate Winslet stuff. This, to me, is the best piece of work that she's ever put out. This character is so complex, and she gets so kind of drowned in this character, so into it, that you completely forget you are watching one of the one of the top 5 actresses working in Hollywood, one of the most iconic actresses who has appeared in so many different things. You get so lost as the viewer in her character because she's so good at playing what is a complex character, but yet again, a very normal person who has been through emotional things. This is not a larger-than-life character. This is Mare of Easttown. She's just a detective that's been through some shit, and now she's trying to solve this case. And pretty much all the performances in this show are so amazing. The characters are very, very well written, but as you get to learn some of these other ones, like Evan Peters, who plays a detective who comes in from out of town to assist with the case. Evan Peters, another person who's just so good in everything he's in. This is another performance of his that just might be my favorite. He is so good here as this kind of like overly ambitious detective who really wants to help Mare, and how his relationship grows with her and his past and how you learn stuff about him. It's just kind of really, really well done, and where that character eventually goes, my God, is it shocking. And we can talk about the shock factor. At the end of the day, this is kind of like a mystery show that relies a lot on its characters and its character moments, but the mystery itself, as you slowly start to reveal stuff and learn stuff, when you have the big moments, I'm talking about episode 5, the ending, my God, there are just big moments that partially feel anticlimactic because you're not really sure. The show doesn't exactly build like a normal, like an episode of Criminal Minds, build towards reveals slowly, like, oh, we're going, and we're getting to the tipping point. No, this show at times, you'll just be going along a normal episode, things aren't really happening, and then boom! They learn something huge about this freaking mystery. They stumble across something or whatever, and it is just such a unique way, in a more human way of revealing stuff. And as the episodes ramp up, I will say the last 2 episodes, it almost gets a little too over-convoluted. Like, there's so many gotcha moments, which is why I think the show maybe wasn't as popular as it should have been. There's a few moments where you think you know the mystery, you think you knew what happened, and you're like, okay, I'm satisfied, but there's like a whole 50 minutes left. So then they're like, gotcha, actually this happened, and then gotcha again, because actually this happened, and it becomes a little too much by the time you get to the end of it, but there was still something so emotional about where the story resolves to, and it's mainly because of Kate Winslet's performance. Without spoiling anything, there's a scene very much near the end of the show where the mystery has been resolved, and she's kind of dealing with the consequences of the end of this mystery. She's confronting, individuals that may have been involved with this, whole mystery, and there's just a sense that on paper, the scene that occurs would not be that sad. It's not that heartbreaking. On paper, it's very standard. This happens, so now this has to happen. And if you read it, you're probably like, that's, it's unfortunate, but you're not going to shed any tears. But Kate Winslet does something so powerful with her performance here, where she sells the tragedy that is unfolding both in her personal life, in the community around her, and just in what's happening. She sells it so well with her eyes, with her facial expressions. It is a masterwork of acting, and it makes the scene heartbreaking. It earned a certified Joe Marchione tier. It is absolutely devastating on the shoulders of her performance and how she sells it. This show is proof that acting can be so powerful, and it can elevate something that is simple and have it be one of the most powerful moments of the entire series. There are some slight issues with the show, though. Like, Agorni Rice's character, I thought she was going, like, somewhere interesting in the show. They were really building this complex relationship between her mom, her father, everything that's going on there. And then that arc just kind of gets dropped, and they just don't really do anything with it later in the show. And there's some other characters that are like that. Her ex-husband, nothing really ever goes on with that character, and they kind of build up early in the show that there is something there, and just nothing really happens. And there are some others. Overall, though, this show, with what it was trying to say, with its core character of Kate Winslet playing Mare, how she relates to this town, how this town is affected by the mystery going on, about how she's actually taking on the case, her vulnerability as a human being, it all just works. And this makes for one of the most bingeable miniseries I have ever watched in my life. This was so easy to watch. The mystery was gripping. The performances were so good. The show was well directed, well put together, well produced. It was just such a great experience watching this one. And because of that, right now, I'm going to give my big stamp of approval. This is a 5 out of 5. You should all go watch Mare of Easttown. It is a brilliant miniseries that I cannot believe this came out in 2021, where I was wired into, what's coming out, movies, TV shows, and somehow this slipped by, and I only scrolled across it on HBO and said, why not try something new? I've never even heard of this. My God, what an experience. So if you've never seen the show, go check it out. This is your signal to go watch this show. It is amazing. Also, I want to make one big point here. It was a mistake, Hollywood, a very big mistake, to not cast Cailee Spaeny as Ellie in The Last of Us. I mean, how did we miss this? All respect to Bella Ramsey, I think she does great in the show, but God, man, Cailee Spaeny is Ellie. I mean, she's probably like a little too old now to play the younger version, but she could have done part 2 right now, and my God, 3-4 years ago, if they had done that, that would have been the perfect casting in the history of Hollywood. Missed opportunity. Bella Ramsey's still great, but missed opportunity. Thank you guys for watching, though. Go check out Mare of Easttown. Let me know what you think. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Turn on notifications to see everything when I post them, and I'll see you guys in the next one.